Before we start our meeting today, we're going to have a pledge, as we always do, and we're going to have prayer or an invocation. And this meeting, because the content we could have a lot of people that are upset, including ourselves. What we have to face today is not fun to face, whether it's at home or at your church, in your lodge, or especially at work when it involves our incomes. So I personally asked Pastor Billups to come up and to ask this invocation on behalf of the city to give us the courage to face the things basically that we can't change and accept the things that we have to go with here to make things go over the next few months, hopefully a few months, maybe a year. We all need to be in that frame of mind. None of us like having this meeting today. I've been afraid for 6 years that this meeting would have to take place. And last Tuesday, when the clerk treasurer told me where we were and what we had to do, believe me, I've wrestled with it ever since. So Pastor Billups, I've told you where we are, and I'm asking that you please today.
Should we do the pledge first?
Yeah, I guess we should do the pledge. You want to lead it today? Let's let you lead it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you remain standing, please, folks.
I'm not here to preach today by any stretch, although it's one of my favorite things to do. I stand here today as pastor of a church that has a large contingent of my parishioners that are a part of this community. And so I stand here today on behalf of them, thanking you for how you guys do your best. These folks that stand behind me today are in positions to try to do their best as well. If I may, since I have the floor, Philippians 2 says this: if there is any encouragement in Christ, any comfort from love, any participation in the Spirit, any affection and sympathy, complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and of one mind. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only on his own interests, but also to the interests of others. I challenge the people of my church, I challenge my deacons and trustees that our responsibility is to, as the police is, to serve and protect. And I know that's why you all are in this, as are the people behind me, for the betterment and to serve and protect our community. And that's my prayer for you today. And so will you join me in prayer at this time? Father God, we come before you today, and you see our situation here in Connersville. And God, we know that nothing is out of your control, and so we ask that you will continue to be in control. Lord, we thank you for how you have worked in the past, and we are claiming the promise of Jesus that you will continue to work in the present and in the future on our behalf. Lord, I pray for our city leaders today, that you will strengthen them, that you will guide them, that you will encourage them, that you will give them wisdom, that you will help us as citizens of this awesome community to stand behind them, to bind our hearts and minds and souls and bodies together for the betterment of the whole. Lord, I pray that you will bless in this meeting, that cool heads will prevail, and that spirits of humility will be cooperative in each and every conversation. And Lord, that through it all you will get the glory. It's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.
Amen.
May God bless you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Call the meeting, special meeting of the Board of Works together. First item of business, be roll call.
Jane Oakley, present. Fran Schomel.
Present.
Leonard Urban.
Present.
Mike Bishop.
Present.
Ron Coldiron.
Present.
Let the record show that all Board of Works members are present. We have a quorum, and we can do business. first item of business on the agenda today is a resolution 2014-07 declaring that the city is in a state of financial emergency. I have given you the details. You have the finances in front of you, as accurate as the clerk treasurer and the deputy clerk treasurer can give to you, ranging from now until June. And I ask you to pass this resolution. It's open to the board.
$350,000 total cash short to meet the budget appropriations for the year 2014. Would you explain how you got to that figure?
Well, they're purely based on estimates, Fran. It's based on where we started at this year with a balance in our general fund of $2,162,000. What we expect our revenue to come in at, and you know those are estimates. We can't ever, that's
Yes.
not a sure thing. What we expect our payroll and claims, and I actually went by what our appropriated budgeted amounts are. We do no additional appropriations and pay out nothing more, nothing less than what we budgeted for. That's what we'd be short at.
I don't know if everyone has a copy of this, but what she's saying, January the 1st, 2014, we had $2,162,625.59. We, at the 1st of March, had $989,646.35. The estimated March revenue is $295,000. Estimated March payroll is $525,000. Estimated March claims $250,000, which on April 1st would leave us with $509,646.35. The estimated revenue for April would be $255,000. Estimated payroll would be $500,000, 2 paydays. Estimated April claims $250,000. At the end of May, we would have $14,646.35 in the bank. That's when the crunch comes. After May 1st, there would be no money to pay anybody. You go on down the list, there are certain funds, as you're aware of, that come in that are designated MVH,
In the park.
the park money that is non-reverting funds that comes in from people playing soccer. They pay fees. All that money goes into a fund, and then when we need money to fix the soccer field, we transfer from that non-reverting fund into there, so we got money. Those funds are in the same position. On April 1st, and the balance for the street department would be
That's park.
$6,749.89, and in motor vehicle, $9,968.51. We have a plan. When she told me on Tuesday afternoon last week, I about lost it because we knew this was coming, but we never dreamed it would come upon us this quick. We've been watching the budget, we've been not spending, we've been trying to be careful. You know, we are $3 million short of revenue from what I had the first year I had when I first became mayor in 2008. Why are we short? Because we lost $100 million in assessed value at the Vistion plant, which you can calculate that. The tax caps came in 2009 right on top of the Vistion thing, and we have just managed to creep by. All of you have been a part of the savings. As we've negotiated union contracts, every one of you have given, everybody in this building's given, and we have been careful in negotiating contracts, trying to keep all of the things down that we knew we could keep down, yet try to treat everybody pretty good. We have held up to the union contract. When I said we would have 25 firemen and 1 chief, we held up to that. Hired a fireman last year. I probably shouldn't have done it. Hired a policeman this year. Probably shouldn't have done it. But the contract called for it, and we tried to live up to our contracts. Everybody's been paid according to the contract. You helped us. We instigated. We We started with some part-time policemen, we saved some overtime money, we done away with the assistant chief of the fire department, we saved some money. At the park, we have repaired with our own people every single thing that has been broken. I don't think this year we've spent out one nickel other than to buy parts or buy lumber or glass or whatever it took. It's just come to the point where we don't have it. And then 2 weeks ago, or in the last week, you've noticed where the county said they didn't budget anything for utilities at the courthouse and the jail, and so they're using the edit money to fund their utilities. We will, we're told by the county commissioners, get enough to pay the most of the pool payment, which is due in December. It's $112,000. The county commissioners say they're going to give us $108,000. We've got to pay the pool payment. It's a bond issue. People have bought bonds. That's got to be paid. That was initiated in 2006.
Originally,
Yeah.
2005.
Five. We refinanced it last year or the year before. We refinanced the bond at the utility, which really doesn't affect you. We refinanced the bond on the Miller building, which we were told we couldn't do. We stretched it out and saved money up there. We've done everything we know to try to save money. But when you hit these kinds of losses and you still have the same expenses, this is where we are. So when I went home on Tuesday night, I didn't sleep. I laid there and tossed and turned. I just knew there would have to be 2 people in every department laid off. And I came in the morning and shut the door, and Julie says, let's look at this. So we looked at taking away longevity. That's not a good plan. Some people have 10 years of longevity. They earned it. They've been here. We looked at changing the health insurance. Can't change that in the middle of the stream. We're right in the middle of the year. We can't change that. We can't ask you to start paying more when you're not. So we looked at what things can we change that we can make up about $300,000 by June 15th. We should have our tax drop by the 3rd or 4th week in June. We found that if we took away all the clothing allowance for everybody, we'd save $100,000. If we take away all the overtime, just wipe it out, and I know we can save $150,000, and we can cut the consumption of diesel fuel and gas. I'm hoping by a 1/3 we can make it to where we need to be in June. Now, some of you have come up with other suggestions. I asked the union leaders to come here today. I talked to the department heads, and we did it immediately. I asked the city attorney, do I have a right to do this? He said, yes, you have a right to do this, but only until the Board of Works meets. They don't meet till next Monday. So I felt it was important to call them in today to let them put the cap on this. I've done it from last Tuesday until now, and now it's up to the Board of Works to pass this resolution declaring this emergency, and then we'll work through it. So that's the reason I've got this resolution before you today. I want to handle it. All we're declaring is we have a financial emergency. The workings of it will have to be worked out. I'm open for discussion among the board, and we'll turn to you here in just a little bit.
How long did you say you're under this recession, these what requests that we're going to ask for last, just through the month of
Now,
Through this year.
through the entire balance of the year?
that's the only way we can. It takes the entire year to make up the money. I'm hoping when we get to June and we get to tax draw, we can sit down and look at it and say, can we make it till January 1? Then we'll get another tax draw the last of December. We'll have to look at it, can we make it until June? And hopefully, and I can't guarantee, we don't have to do anything else. Hopefully we can make it. We may still end up with layoffs. And why don't I want layoffs? We got as you know, we got a fireman that just had twin babies. And I think that babies are going to be in the hospital another months. I don't want to do that to him. We've got a wonderful policeman we just hired that came from the county. They filled his job. He wouldn't have a job. We don't want to do that, so we want to take the least route. And the least route, we think, are the things that we've proposed. And I've had suggestions from you, and I can read them. And one or two of those suggestions make sense, but you must realize that the tax money is used to pay police and fire. We just now get enough tax money from the property tax to pay those two, just even. Everything else in the city's got to come from a different fund, which we get some gasoline tax, some cigarette tax, some sales tax, and that's what we fund the county, the street department, and we fund the parks department with. We've just laid it on the line to you, that's where we are. I really thought this would happen after I left, I really did. I didn't think it would hit this soon. There's good things coming along. Wyzetta is now in business, they're building cabinets, they're hiring people. You know, all of the companies, Sapa's hired way over 100 in the last 6 years. We've got 2 other companies that are looking at us. We've got an announcement right around the corner, which is going to announce probably 125 jobs. We've worked at that day and night, but it takes a long time before you see that filter down and begin to help us. It takes a long time. You know, I tell the guys, you know, come out to the cemetery and tell me how good it is, because I won't live to see it. You young guys will see it. So, Lord, that's what I'm asking you to do, declare this emergency.
So Mayor, you're saying that the uniforms and the overtime alone would be $250,000 for the fiscal year 2014, is that? am I
Roughly.
understanding that?
And the gas, the fuel was included in that, right? That was the
And then we're
same.
not gonna spend anything. I've stopped the computers that we adopted last week, I've stopped that. I'm not gonna tear the building down on 8th Street, they allowed us 12,300, I've stopped that. I can't stop the project on Grand Avenue, it's court ordered. I'm under agreed order with the court, I have to go ahead with it, I can't
That's a
stop it.
state project, yeah.
Well, it's a state project, but we
But
got
we
money,
have to
we got
get-
money in it.
Yes.
Plus, it was a year late getting started, too.
Plus, we've already paid that money.
But anything else, we will stop. We're lucky, we kinda got pretty decent police cars, and up until this morning, I thought we had pretty decent fire trucks. I guess you towed one off this morning, but that's under warranty, so that shouldn't be a big deal. Parks Department's got pretty good equipment, the street department, other than the street sweeper, is gonna have to have a motor in it, I guess. It's leaking antifreeze into the oil pan. Any questions?
Well, I think you've given a lot of thought to this, and I see no alternative. Jay, you have anything to say? I'd like to make a motion that we approve 2014-07.
Any entity that in the past 5 years that has been tax-based funded has felt the crunch. I hate that it's come to this much, and I think we all need to work together to make it a quick turnaround. I don't like everything I see on the suggestion list. I don't want to put the public at risk in any way. I don't want to put our emergency workers at any kind of risk, ever, in any way. But we need to do what's best for everybody. I would like someone to read out loud the resolution so the city and everyone involved knows exactly what it says. Not that we have the answer to all the problems that we're going to have to solve financially today, but at least we have a springboard to start.
Fran, you'll read the
Fran's got the
resolution.
radio voice.
Resolution number 2014-07, a resolution declaring a financial emergency in the city of Connersville, Indiana. Whereas the city clerk treasurer has advised the Board of Public Works and Safety that as of March 1, 2014, the general fund was under $1 million and that the city will not have sufficient funds to make payroll and pay claims beyond April 30, 2014, based on current claim and payroll estimates. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Public Works and Safety that a financial emergency exists in the city of Connersville, and the Board of Public Works and Safety authorizes the mayor and city clerk treasurer to take whatever measures deemed expedient to alleviate the emergency to the greatest possible extent, including elimination of overtime pay and other measures, adopted by the Board of Public Works and Safety of the City of Connersville this blank day of March 2014.
Is there a second?
I'll second that, Your Honor.
More discussion? John, do you want to vote on this, or do you want to have input from the unions and the employees before we vote on it?
I would suggest input.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's
but
hold
we
right
get
there.
an
We
idea
got
what folks have.
we got a motion and a second, and we'll open it up to discussion here with the, and I would ask the speakers to speak one at a time, whatever department or whatever you represent, and come to the podium, and let's try to do this in a manner that we can all live with one another. So who would like to be first? Who wants to be first? It's not wrong to come and tell us how you feel. Maybe you have some good ideas, you know. Is the representative of the street department union here?
Yeah.
Did you want to speak?
No, sir.
Jeff, you represent the, I'll let you tell us what you represent.
I represent Connersville Police Department, FOP 74.
You're the steward or the president?
I'm the president.
Okay. Go right ahead, Jeff.
I really don't have anything at this time. We'll get with our department heads and do the best we can and work with everybody else and try to come up with something. Okay?
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, anybody want to speak on behalf of the street department? Okay, how about the parks? Is there anybody want to speak on behalf of parks? You're the union rep for them too, okay. Transfer? Are you the union rep?
No, I'm not after the transfer station. No.
You're the group leader.
I have a question. In your resolution, it states the elimination of overtime and other measures. What's the other measures, Your Honor? Have you folks decided that yet?
Well, it's up to Julie and I, but the measures that we lined out where we think we can generate probably 300,000 by June is we'll watch our gas and our diesel fuel consumption and cut it at least a third, maybe half.
Okay.
We'll try to, we won't spend anything on any except for the parts we have to buy. But there'll be no frivolous spending for anything. We'll live with what we got until June, which is not a long time. Of course, the overtime is the big issue. That'll save the most money. And the uniform allowance, the clothing allowance, will generate $100,000 over the year's time, and that's due in June. That's why we picked on it. It's due in June, half of it.
Only police and fire
Only
pay
police
get
and
half
fire.
of theirs. You know, really, the other departments don't get theirs till the
Well,
end.
if we see other avenues we can save money, we'll certainly do it.
Okay, thank you.
And as Jeff said, we'll work together with police and fire. You know, we can't sit up here and say we're only gonna have one policeman on Fridays, because then the band guys, but we got smart enough people in the police department, they'll run it however they gotta run it. My two chiefs have promised me they'll patrol. We're not gonna take Mr. O'Neill back and have him do the yards. The two police chiefs are gonna do that. I've already let the part-time guy that was doing our sex crimes, I've already notified him that his job is no longer there. We're not paying that anymore. So we'll do little things like that where we can save money.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think then the last one, unless I've missed somebody, would be...
EMS.
Who? EMS. We have the same union rep,
No.
Fire department.
and then the fire department will be last, yeah.
Jesse Sewell on the union
Yeah,
side.
Jesse.
We understand what's going on, and we're gonna talk about it. I would like a copy of the resolution if I could get one.
Certainly will. Melissa will make copies here and have copies for everybody.
And we're willing to work with you guys to see what we can get done.
And we're willing to work with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.
I guess the last one would be, Terry, did you want to speak, or?
No, I'm just simply here because the city pays half of the dispatch salary,
We intend to keep dispatch going, just like we are.
Absolutely, I want to speak on that behalf, we'll do what we can to help. I mean, we understand the crunch, county did it too, so.
Okay, the last one would be fire department, and I wanted to wait till last for the fire department. The police and fire are the two biggest departments we have in this city. They make up about $5.5 million, so when you start to cut, you guys are, you don't get hit the hardest, but you feel it the hardest because you've got big departments, big budgets.
I'd like to have a copy of that also, if I could. We're having a meeting, special meeting at 5 o'clock with all of our guys, and going to explain
You want a
it.
copy of this too, Scott?
Yeah, that's the
The financial
finances you
part of
mentioned.
it? I have it.
Get the finances, get plenty of those copies and,
That way we got something to show them.
Makes sense.
So, we understand. So we're going to take it back to them, explain everything to them.
I appreciate it, so I really do.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Matt, you come all the way from Indianapolis, do you want to speak?
We gotta have Matt. What's
Come on up to the podium, Matt.
We gotta have Matt. We like Matt.
Matt's a fireman, he's also an attorney, and he represents the fire department and a lot of other fire departments around the state. Maybe you got some good advice for us, Matt.
Well, no, I worry, you know, just as far as like the safety aspect, but part of the, we had a good long lunch, that's why I've got stains on my shirt, but one of the things that, you know, we'd gone about, you know, dealing with issues within the membership and you know, within how we can approach this, you know, what's the situation. Well, we came to the conclusion that we need to work with, you know, one of, just as far as a legal question they asked me, so, well, what are our legal options? I said, sue them, you know, I don't see any way that you're not gonna be able to violate the labor agreement. There's just no way that we see it happen. But that doesn't make, from our standpoint, it doesn't make, so, you know, we've always tried to work with the city and go back and forth. We understand, and I think we can work with the argument. We just want to, and we know you will, you know, if we're going to go below what we had, you know, agreed certain minimums and stuff like that, we just need to make sure that we do it safely, and I know we can, you know, we can work those things out. So we're gonna, you know, get together with our folks and you know, just try and get everybody on board with a kind of just a general way to approach this, and that was it. This is, well, this is most times where we really have to work with the city, you know, come up with reasonable approaches, because you know, I'm a little bit concerned about the longer term, you know, what's gonna happen next year and the year after that. So we may have to think about it. Now, one thing we did get on the record, and what I wanna just get out there, we discussed it at lunch. We have firefighters, you know, some kind of a little bit going after each other a little bit. Well, you're getting more overtime than this and that, you know how, and then you have the, you know, labor management, the labor city and stuff, but, you know, really, you know, we need to look at the basis of this problem, and it's the state tax policies. And so,
And they're up there trying to crunch us again right now.
that's why it's like, you know, perhaps as a union, you know, police, fire, everybody, and I'm not getting political, it doesn't matter what party I'm so, but I think there's one thing we can say objectively, these tax policies are killing smaller cities like Connersville. And so, I mean, it's one of these things where we might, you know, beyond solving this immediate problem, it is something that it might behoove us to get together and try and, you know, through the political system, change it.
You have a very large lobby, and, you know, they're trying to take away the equipment tax right now. They voted yesterday. I don't know where it is. I think it's in the House again. And there's no alternative tax to give us. We have looked at that. If that would pass by 2017, this city would lose another $840,000. We can't do that.
Right. And that's...
They're not putting anything in place of
That's what we came to notice, we shouldn't be pointing, you know, guns at each other or getting, you know, this is a time where we need to work together and try and deal with the actual basis of the problem.
John Baker and I were up there last week, John. We asked Matt at Indiana Association of Cities and Towns, please, on our behalf, don't they realize where we are down here? I mean, we've got a city to run, and we're down to the bare minimum. We can't go any lower.
And that's where we might be able to help out. In other words, if there's I think joining forces and stuff, there's state legislatures that cover this area, I don't know the names.
I've called them, I've talked to them, and I think our two
And maybe,
know what we're going through. But there's some of those that are in big cities that don't have a problem.
Right.
In Carmel, they don't have a problem. Their property taxes are going up like this. Ours are going down like this.
well, Indianapolis, we had to put off our raise,
I know.
twice. And so it's a statewide problem, but I'm just saying that if there's, I think it would behoove us, and I think, we're still gonna talk, but I know we came to the conclusion, we could deal with this stuff between us. We'll be reasonable. But what might help us is if we, find a way to work with you and find a way to work with other people who we don't necessarily normally work with. And you kind of go hand in hand to certain legislatures and at least get maybe a wave going. If it's happening here, it's happening in Indianapolis. I deal with, fire departments all over the state, and it's just tough all over, but the basic problem is, that's the basic problem. And, you go to wherever it's at, Jeffersonville, you have these issues, and a lot of times when things get tight, people turn the guns on each other, and it's like, hey, wait a second. There's a basic reason why we're in this situation. It's not necessarily because someone, put some money into a park or bought a, fancy fire engine or something. It shouldn't necessarily be that tight all the time. So, or we have to lay off. Because objectively, this city is able to handle 2 minor car accidents at once. One fire, barely. For a fire in Indianapolis, we'd have 25 people on, a house fire. First shot, first 10 minutes, we'd have 25 professional firefighters there on the scene. You guys got 3, and hopefully in the next 15 minutes, the guys off duty can make it in. But those are all details we can talk about. You were clear, right now you're at risk. It's gonna get worse. And so, it's just something we get together, there's a point of pain where, hey, you know what, we probably should start banding together and just, I've talked too long, so you guys ask.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you. We always have, and, we're willing to help any way we can.
Yeah, well, and that's what we need to get together with our union and do some talks, and maybe there are things we can help each other out. As far as that basic problem, and then of course we've got to deal with, what's the safest way we can get through this.
And we got professional people running these departments.
Yeah.
There's no need for me to try to run it, because I don't know how. They need to run, the police, the fire, they need to run it as safe as they can run it with what assets we got to run it with.
Right.
That's all I can tell you, just do it.
Right.
I'm not gonna come over and tell you, don't do this, just do it, don't spend any money, that's all we're gonna do.
Yeah,
It's real simple.
Just do it, don't spend it. Yeah, so.
And I told Julie this morning, if next month you wanna look at these figures, and the next month you wanna look at these figures, the union, the department heads, they'll be open here for you to see them. She's gonna, every time we spend a nickel over there at the city garage to buy a part, because that's the place we can't stop spending. We've got to buy the parts to keep the police cars, the fire trucks, and everything on the road. We're gonna keep track of it, but we're not gonna do anything extra. There'll be no police cars painted, nothing. We'll change the oil and we'll keep things going, but that's all we're gonna do.
Sure.
So you're welcome to look at these things every month between now and June. And in June, we're gonna take a healthy look at our tax draw and where we are and see if we can pinpoint how we get to December or January.
Right, and obviously beyond.
Yeah.
And again, I think we should also take a look at the very basis of the problem and maybe take some collective action together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very well said.
Anybody else like to speak?
Has there been any more talk about the public safety tax at all?
We asked, John Baker and I asked the IAC to represent us and to try to do the white tax. We don't need it. It's the same tax. It lowers people's taxes. But you've got to have both of those taxes before you can have the public safety tax. Nobody wants to lay another tax on the people of this community. I brought that to them, and each time, they just, our people look around our town. Do we want to lay another tax on them? Now, if we could drop the COID and put it in the public safety, I'd be all for it, and I think the council would consider it. But to add the third tax to it, but there's no need for the COID tax anymore, not with the tax caps. I think the county would lose a little money on that. They tell me they would. I don't think it would hurt us. I think that'd be the way to go. But it don't seem to be in the cards right now. You're gonna just jump over there.
I used to I appreciate the predicament that we're all in, and thanks for hearing me talk. I'm James Dare with the Fire Department Union Executive Board. And you do a good job of telling us, or telling the public that that we have come your way and worked with you. I just want to reiterate that, and maybe even share some of the high points of where we were and where we've come. Because I was looking at some of these budgets over the past, and I got a couple of questions too. Our budgets have grown, and one thing that's significant above all, there are things that we can't handle. It's out of our control, be it the taxes and the loss of revenue. But as far as our expenditures, and let's face it, the big one's healthcare. It's cost a lot of money, and there really needs to truly be an open door. And contractually, we have in there that we are to jointly seek those, and we got to get this done together. I mean, because more heads are better than one. Sometimes you start picking and choosing whose idea is better, and ultimately it comes down to y'all because you guys are elected officials. But we have shown a willingness to come your way. I mean, like from when I first come on, we had 36 people as firefighters, 3 fire chiefs, well, 2 chiefs and an inspector. And now we're at 25 and 1. But yet our budget is still similar in size, if maybe not just a little bit bigger. I got the budget estimate from '05, and I mean, when I look at the other employee costs from '05 to 14, it's down over $266,000 because we got less people, and that's one thing that it's the frustrating part of it is, we want to do. I believe in our contract, and I think all of our guys at the union and most people here truly represent the best interests of the taxpayer, and that's your guys' jobs to look out for that. I just want to make that aware that we have been doing the things necessary, but it's not fast enough because it's like a snowball. When you couple in the fact of healthcare costs, the amount that we have coming in is not as much as going out. So, I mean, when I look at the fringe benefits, which I know that's our perf and healthcare.
No, that's just healthcare.
That's it?
That's all that's in there.
Okay, well, from '05 to now, we're talking, it's up 218,000. That's just one department.
And that's just not Fayette County and Connersville, that's the United States of America.
Right, and I mean, and those are things that we gotta do, we gotta get creative, but we gotta do it together,
Well, you made a point there. All the money that we saved on cutting firemen was spent in healthcare.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean,
that's why the budget stays the same.
Yeah, you go and look at them, that's where it's at. And so that's one thing that it is a little bit in our control on how we negotiate that and look for other opportunities. I know the healthcare reform's not probably boding well in our favor, but there's other ways out there, and we need to exhaust them all.
Julie offered, the city offered last year, and I think we had, how many people took
The health savings, James was one of
Yeah, I
those.
switched over.
Yeah, that saved money for us, and I think puts more money in your pocket, if it works right.
Yeah, if you don't use it a lot, it's great. Even if you don't use it a lot, it's great.
Or if you have
Or
to
if
use
you use it a lot, it's great, But if you're in that medium, it's harder on you, But things like that, if we can get something that's a little more cost effective for everybody, and it would you know, and it's still, like Matt said, it's all gonna be a Band-Aid until there's funding fixes. So,
I want to ask you a question, Ray. The street department union has their union insurance, the utilities has their union, doesn't the fire department, why don't your union have an insurance?
I can't
We've
speak
had that
for the-
discussion, haven't we,
Yeah, I
James?
can't speak for the international.
That would really help.
Yeah, it would.
And the
you
police
know,
too.
Obviously, there must not be any money in it.
That's what it all goes back to, is money.
Right, and that too.
Yeah.
But I guess I only have, you know, one question. And I know that you have come out with this resolution, and we'll talk all of that, and how we're going to do some things. But are there any other funds that would be available, and like such as the riverboat? You know,
Now, here's what-
to be able to alleviate some of that sting off of that resolution.
Here's what we're going to do. If the council agrees, the city council has to agree, we're going to ask the city council to pay the trash truck payment of the riverboat, which will wipe it out, basically. Because we got that coming due December? November. The fire truck payment, I think we can handle. It's a lot less, it's like 45, right? Well, that's the big thing we worry about. How do we make that payment and not hurt the budget? We've been buying all this small equipment out of the riverboat. We're gonna save, we get that money in August, and we save that and make the trash truck payment in November. We don't have to take that from tax money. That's one thing we have to take from tax money. And so-
But we can't use riverboat money. When that was initiated, they set up an ordinance what that could be used for, and it was
No
not
salaries.
set up to use for salaries or benefits
In the ordinance,
in the ordinance, yeah.
which that can be.
It could be changed, I would assume.
So you know how that riverboat has helped us so much over the last 6 years? We've bought all the police, fire, parks, all the equipment's come out of there. That's what's really been able to us to have pretty decent stuff.
I guess I do have one more question.
Go ahead.
What about, I know it was a couple years ago when the taxes, because of assessments, we didn't get them till late. Unless you guys were, the city was solid enough to carry that through that time, was there ever a time where you had to borrow?
And
to
we
make
have
it?
done that in the past, and we did it last year, and we're gonna have to do it this year. What we do, we file for what they call an advanced draw on our tax draw, but we are only entitled to 90% of what's collected. If I went in for an advanced draw right now, they probably don't have a few $100,000 collected because property taxes aren't due till May. So that's why I'm trying to eke it out until the end of April, file for our advanced draw in May when there's gonna be a little more money in there to actually get us enough to get through until we get our draw in June.
Well, because I mean, going back and, like I said, I looked through those budgets, because you can get on the state board of accounts and you can look at them from 13 back to 06. And I started going through, and the amounts that from 08 to 09, we dropped it over $600,000. And if we can make it through those lean times.
That was basically just,
Right.
then the next year came the tax caps.
Right, yeah.
And
boom, boom, boom,
it's
boom.
just gone like this. And then, when, we're sitting here and we're probably not gonna get no edit money, and a lot of other funds have diminished, the grants have almost, they're drying up. You know, we've been after a grant for a fire truck ever since I've been here. Never got it, we finally had to spring and buy one. We've been after.
We got one for the ladder.
We did the ladder, but that was back in '06 or '07. But we've been after that pumper, that, whatever you call it, I forget. But we've been after an ambulance, that ambulance we got, you can talk to Phil. Every 6 months, we gotta tear it completely down and rebuild the engine. And we've been eking through that, and, and then we've had the most terrible winter we've ever had,
Right.
on top of everything else. Will we get any rebate from anybody on the snow plowing?
I haven't heard anything
Didn't
yet.
say so.
Sometimes the federal gives us a little bit rebate.
Sometimes there's some FEMA money,
Yeah.
but I haven't.
The graph on the television didn't show us in the counties that was getting it yesterday.
Thanks for
That's
having me out.
probably right.
Now, thanks for
Yeah, I don't
coming.
need
Thank you very much.
Anybody else before we vote on this motion? And none appearing, we have a motion on the floor to pass pending resolution. Can I find the number? 2014-07, declaring the city, state of financial emergency. And he read the resolution to him. We'll have a roll call vote.
Jane Oakley,
Yes.
Fran Schomel,
Yes.
Leonard Urban,
Yes.
Mike Bishop,
Yes.
Ron Coldiron.
Yes.
Let the record show that the resolution passes with 100%. I made an executive order last Tuesday. Mr. Baker tells me I'm allowed to do that when there's an emergency, but I can only do it until you meet. I called you together today to ratify the executive order, which really means nothing other than I did the right thing. I'd like a motion to accept what I did.
So moved, Mayor.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? My executive order ends today, and we're going on a resolution that's been approved by the board. All in favor of the executive order by roll call vote?
Jane Oakley?
Yes.
Fran Schaubel?
Yes.
Leonard Urban?
Yes.
Mike Bishop?
Yes.
Ron Coldiron?
Yes.
Motion carries, and I think the meeting is complete unless somebody else would like to speak. Not appearing, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. I thank you so much for the cooperation, and I guarantee you we're going to work together to get through this.